covers the key of G minor. So first, we need to find the notes in our key. When we are trying to find the key signature of a minor key, the easiest thing to do is compare it to its relative major key. So remember, we find a relative major key by going up 3 half steps from the root, or the name of the scale. So we're in the key of G minor, so we're going to start on G, and we're going to count up 3 half steps to find our relative major key. So we go from G, A flat, A, and then B flat. So the relative major key of G minor is B flat major. The key of B flat, because you've memorized your circle of fifths, has 2 flats. We have a B flat and an E flat. So that means the key of G minor has the exact same key signature. So 2 flats, B flat and E flat in the key of G minor. When you remember your flats, you're ready to move on to the next concept, tonic triad. Let's build our tonic triad. So we need to start with the tonic, or the root of the scale, which comes from the name G minor. So we're going to start on a G, and then to build any chord, we stack thirds, so skips on top of the notes. So we go from G, we get a B, but because of our key signature, it's a B flat, and then the note on top of that, another skip, is a D. G, B flat, and D. These are the 3 notes of the tonic triad. Now we're going to play this chord and its inversions. Alright, let's build our tonic triad. So 1, 3, and 5 over our G, B flat, and D. Okay. Now that we've pressed this down, we're going to move this G from the bottom of the chord to the top of the chord, so we invert it. So the G's on the top, we have a D with our second finger in the middle, then we have a B flat with our thumb. Now make sure that you move your hand in to get that B flat, because your thumb is short and so is the black key. Now we're going to flip the chord and invert it one more time. We're going to move the B flat to the top, third finger on G, and thumb on D. Now we're going to flip the chord again, and we're going to wind up right back where we started. G, B flat, and D. 1, 3, and 5. Now we're going to flip the chord right back down the way we came. So we're going to move the D on the top here to the bottom. So D, third finger on G, and pinky on B flat. Now make sure that when we flip the chord again, the B flat's on the bottom with our thumb, second finger on D, and pinky on G. And then we flip the chord one more time back to our original position. G, B flat, and D. Alright, now for the left hand. 5, 3, and 1 over G, B flat, and D. Now we flip or invert the chord. G goes to the top, middle note is a D, and pinky is on B flat. Then we flip the chord one more time, so the B flat's on top, our second finger is on G, and our pinky is on D. And then we're going to flip the chord one last time. We're right back in root position. G, B flat, and D. Now we're going to go back down. So the D on the top goes to the bottom. So we go D, second finger on G, and thumb on B flat. We flip it one more time. So the B flat's at the bottom, third finger on D, thumb on G. And then we move it back one more time to our root position. 5, 3, and 1 on G, B flat, and D. Before you play hands together, make sure that you are getting more comfortable with the movement necessary between chord to chord and the depth needed for your hand, right? So we don't want to move that down and around, we don't want our hands to be tilted sideways. How we play the notes and how we get to the notes is more important than playing the notes themselves. If you can't get to the note in a relaxed manner and in an efficient manner, you'll never be able to play it. So that's why these exercises are so important. Really drill that movement pattern. When you feel like you're ready to try it, hands together, do the next exercise. We are going to next do the primary chord progression. So first thing we have to build are 3 primary chords. We've already done the first one, our tonic triad, so G, B flat, and D. Now we have to build our subdominant and dominant, the chords built off of scale degrees 4 and 5. So first, let's take a look at the scale to get to scale degree number 4. So G, second note is A, third note rather is a B flat, and fourth note is a C. So C is the root of our subdominant chord, our 4 chord. So let's stack our thirds. We go C, a third above that is E, but because of our key signature, it's an E flat, and then a third above that is G. C, E flat, and G. This is our subdominant chord. Now we step up 1 note from C to D, and this is the 5th note of the scale. Now we need to build our dominant 7 chord off of D. So a third above D is F, a third above F is A, and a third above A is C. Take a look at all those skips right there. Now, because we are in a minor key, we need to add our leading tone. So the leading tone of any key is a half step below the root. So a half step below G is an F sharp. Another way that we can do this is just taking a look at the chord that we just wrote. The second note is always going to be the leading tone. So we would just raise that note a half step. So the second note of our chord, first note is a D, second note is an F, we would just raise to an F sharp. Same thing, right? So the 4 notes in our dominant chord are D, F sharp, A, and C. Now that we've got the notes of our 3 primary chords, we are going to play them on the keyboard. All right, right hand, tonic triad root position. So G, B flat, and D, 1, 3, and 5. Now we're gonna open our hand shape so that our pinky reaches up to the E flat, our third finger moves to C, and then our G is still with a thumb. So this is our subdominant chord. Now we're going to move back to our tonic triad, G, B flat, and D, 1, 3, 5. Now we're going to move our hand in just a little bit so that our thumb can get the F sharp. 4th finger's already over C, 5th finger's already over D. Here's our dominant 7 chord, and then we go back to our tonic, G, B flat, and D. Alright, now the left hand, same thing. So tonic triad, root position, G, B flat, and D, 1, 3, and 5. Now, our thumb has to reach our E flat, so we have to move our hand in so that the thumb is over E flat, C is over 2nd finger, and then our pinky is over the G. Now, we move our hand back to tonic triad root position, G, B flat, and D. Now to move to our dominant chord, the pinky opens to the F sharp, 2nd finger's over C, and thumb is still over D. And then we move back from our dominant to our tonic, G, B flat, and D. Before playing hands together, pay special attention to the curvature of your fingers as you move in and out of chord shapes. When we play chords, we need a solid base from the hand. So the round hand shape that comes from keeping your fingers curled needs to be in these chords, especially as you're going to be eventually playing bigger chords and more chords. So we need to build that first foundational base. Really watch that finger position and the firmness of your fingertips as you go from chord to chord. When you feel like you got a good handle on that round hand shape, try the next exercise, hands together. Last concept, we are going to play a tonic triad arpeggio. So we already know the notes of our tonic triad, G, B flat, and D. Instead of being played as a vertical harmony, so a chord, we are going to play it as an arpeggio, a broken chord. So those three notes are going to be spread out. Now make sure that you start in the open hand position that I'm about to go over. It's really, really important that you open your hands before starting to play the notes.
Alright, now with our right hand, we're going to start with our tonic triad in an open position. So instead of 1, 3, and 5 over our G, B flat, and D, we're going to open it to 1, 2, and 3 over G, B flat, and D. So let's play each note separately. G, then the B flat, then the D. Now as I play the D, my thumb tucks underneath, my wrist turns over, but it stays level with the keyboard, and then my thumb plays the G, and the hand opens up into the next three notes. So I play my B flat, my D, and then my G. Now we're going to keep the hand open and we're going to go right back down. So we go back to D, B flat, and then as I play the G, my third finger tucks over, and then the other two notes slide into place. So then we have B flat and G. Same thing for the left hand. We're going to start that tonic triad in an open position. So we're going to put our pinky over G, third finger over B flat, second finger over D, and thumb over G. My hand is open in the shape of an octave. So we're going to play each one of these four notes. So we go G, then we go with our third finger on the B flat, second finger on the D. Then when we play our G, our third finger crosses over to B flat, and the next two notes slide into place. So then I have a D and a G. Now we're going to keep our hand here. We're going to go right back down. So second finger still on D, third finger on B flat, tuck your thumb underneath to G, open the hand into the next three notes. We have a D, our B flat, and then we end on our G.
Alright, so before playing hands together, make sure that you watch your elbows. One of the biggest things with students and playing arpeggios in the beginning is just keeping those elbows down. You really want to use the opening and closing of that hand shape, and then that little side-to-side wrist motion when you cross under and you cross over instead of taking that elbow up. So when you feel like you're getting a little bit better at the technique, or you think you're already there, try the same exercise, hands together. That is it for the key of G minor. I hope it aids you in your practice along your piano journey. If you enjoy the content, don't forget, give me that like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the video, any other topics you would like me to cover in the future. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel, definitely check out the link to the shop below. There's always some dope shirts and new content that I'm constantly throwing in there. I am a pretty big fan of it, and I hope you are too. So, as always, keep practicing and stay powerful, y'all.